All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to share. I'll be sharing a lesson all throughout this week. My goal today is kind of just make sure we understand the basics of what we're shooting for in this competition, and then also set you up for success in relation to pitching at the end. Because at the end, it doesn't matter what your idea is, it's how you pitch it and if it makes sense to the judges at the end. So I'll be helping you out and making sure that you're very well prepared for that. All right, so first things first is this is not a business plan competition. So sometimes competitions are like you put your head in the sand and you start forecasting and doing all these predictions. We're almost like the exact opposite of that. Think in terms of just like, what is the smallest thing I can do to build to test whether my solution would work or not? If you're thinking in those terms, then you're in the right competition. If you're thinking like we need to scale out and show a 5-year forecast, this is the wrong competition for that. And we at the Venture College strongly believe in the lean startup method. And I just want to share just a quick, like a 1-minute video, just to understand like the concept of why we believe in the lean startup process.
The Soviet Queen, as fast as I can. The subject of the talk is how to fail less. I wish I could tell you the subject was how to succeed more, but we might know how to do that in another 10 years. But now we've kind of figured out how to make startups fail less. And we know that because we've learned a lot. We didn't quite understand the difference between startups and large companies. And the distinction is that startups used to be thought of as smaller versions of large companies. Everything a large company did, your investors used to tell you, you need to do that as well. Large companies hire VP of sales, marketing, and biz dev on day one, you needed to do that. They used to write business plans, you needed to do that. Everything they learned in Harvard Business School, you're supposed to do that as well. We know that's just not true. What we now know is that startups search. In your first year, you're in search mode. We'll tell you what you're searching for, but large companies execute. And that distinction wasn't clear for the first 100 years of innovation and entrepreneurship. What we used to believe for strategy was all I need to do is execute the plan. Anybody ever write a business plan? Yeah. Well, here's what we know about a business plan. And by the way, anybody have to do Appendix A, the forecast in the back? All right. Anybody ever realize that it's called the 5-year forecast, the 5-year plan? Anybody ever make that connection that the Soviet Union used to have a 5-year plan? And this one's probably as valid as the Soviet 5-year plan. I now believe we ought to teach business plans still in universities and colleges, but they ought to be taught in the English department because they're best examples of creative writing we're ever going to see.
All right, so that's exactly what we believe and buy into at the Venture College, which is if we're starting an idea, if we're at the seed stage, you're not executing, you're just exploring, and there's different phases of that exploration. And what Steve Blank and the Lean Startup Method recommends is using what's called the business model canvas. So if this is new to you, another reason to engage with us at the Venture College during and after this competition, because we can help you through this. This is essentially, let's call it a 1-page business plan that focuses on all these areas are just assumptions. The good news for you though is like we're not even going this far with the competition. We're not trying to set up an entire business. Really what we're trying to focus on during this competition is what's called the value proposition canvas. So same concept, that there's a map that really maps out like whether you have a good idea or not. And I'm going to walk you through that today, just so we're kind of on the same playing field. But essentially the map has 2 parts. One is going to be talking about your customers, and the other one is going to be talking about your own value proposition. Okay, let's talk about the value proposition canvas. There's actually only 2 parts that I care about today. Like Nick mentioned, today we're not talking about solutions. Like if you have a solution in mind, I highly encourage you to put a pin in it. Like wait, don't waste your problem sponsor's time with like solutions today. You're literally just trying to understand. So there's 2 parts that we care about. One is the customer, what's called customer jobs. Essentially, that's the status quo of what companies are doing now. And this is more factual and less emotion. So I'm just looking at like the straight facts. So what do you do? Like, actually, let's review this. So I was going to go to the problem statements page. Okay, so I have job site. So hopefully everyone has seen this. There's 11 problems that are here. And each one has information here. Okay, so customer jobs is gonna understand like what are people doing now to solve this issue and how it's impacting the bottom line. So for example, how can we reduce after hours theft on home building job sites? So if I was a team that was going after that, I want to know how often does theft occur? So how many homes are you building and how many homes have theft in it? Are we talking about like 1 in 100 or are we talking like 10 out of 100? Because that 1 to 100, 1 to 10% or 50% homes have some type of theft, that might change the deal. Is there different neighborhoods that are having more theft than others? Is it rural that's having the most impact, or is it the ones that are like downtown next to huge neighborhoods? If you understand this, then you'll have more insight on what you need to build. The problem is we just hear kind of surface level problems and then we just go straight, oh, I can solve it. And then you can't solve it because you actually are not addressing the issue. And details are important. So I want numbers here. So like I said, I don't want to know like, yeah, homes are getting like properties, there's theft all the time. How much theft? What's the occurrence rate? Things like that. How much before you can claim your insurance? Things like, I want as much detail as possible. And that's what we should be spending on tonight. Okay, next one is going to be on the customer pains. So customer pains now says, okay, here's the jobs. Here's really what sucks about it. And so why does their current process stink? How much more money or time is it costing them? And I try to get a sense of, are they trying to fix the problem now or is it a lower priority? If it's a lower priority, then usually that quote unquote problem will actually be up here, which is nice to have. If I was a student or I was on the public track and I'm talking to a problem sponsor and this is not one of their highest priorities, this is not one of their highest problems, then I might boot the problem and move to something else, mainly because I'm trying to win this competition based on companies that are like actively trying to solve a real problem. And that usually means they're trying to address it now. So once again, on the customer problems, business impact typically is going to be around the customer pains. Okay, so anyone who takes my incubator course or hangs out at Venture College, we kind of have like a sniff test, right? So here's my sniff test. So if you tell me like, oh yeah, I know it, I got the problem, I know exactly like the issue, here would be some questions I'd ask you. Have you spoke to your problem sponsors? Did you seek out other stakeholders? The teams that won last year went beyond just the initial stakeholder they talked to, and they were like, who else in your company can we talk to? Or who else do you know in the industry that we could talk to? And we can pair you with other stakeholders besides just your main problem sponsor. The more you've done interviews and validate that this is an industry-wide problem and you get that firsthand knowledge, the more credible you seem if I'm judging you at the end. Can you tell me which potential customers might need you the most and why? So the big mistake some teams would make is at the end of the pitch day, they're going to say all home builders need this. That's usually not how it works. Point out specifically. So going back to the theft issue, are you trying to solve a rural issue, or are you trying to solve, in the suburbs issue? That's an example. But figure out like what your initial target market is. Can you prove to me this is a pain that they're trying to solve now? So this explains to me like, can you show me that they're actually trying to solve it now? And can you quantify the pain with real numbers? So if you just say it's really stinks, they're losing a lot of money, I'm not going to give you a lot of points. If you tell me they're losing $36,000 every month because of this, I know you did your homework. Okay, so in terms of the what's called customer discovery phase, which is essentially where you're here, customer discovery, meaning you're literally just trying to discover. You're not trying to sell. At the end of this competition, we're pretty much like going to bounce between these two. We don't realistically expect that you're going to like start getting customers by 2 weeks. But we do expect that you can get some type of prototype or idea, get validation from the customer, and then maybe kick it back here to redo it as like a phase 2, or you try to push even more. But this is where this is kind of the goal of this competition. Couple tips tonight. So when you're talking to your problem sponsors now and moving forward. So tip 1 is ask questions, but you're not there to sell. There's a military term called knowing the lay of the land. So when military get into a new spot, they don't just like roll up with the tanks and start going guns a-blazing. They'll actually get men to go to the very top. Well, now it's drones and stuff, but let's imagine we're in 1922. People are going to go to the very top and understand like what's the lay of the land, what are we working with? That's what you're doing tonight. You're just trying to understand fill in the customer jobs, fill in the customer pain, so you get like a fuller concept, and then you can be pinpoint in your precision. And that's so yeah, that's what we're aiming for tonight. We're not focused on solutions. We'll talk about that next class. More best practices. So we're emphasizing in-person interviews, not just like blind surveys. That's why we're having you talk to problem sponsors. The reason why we do that is because with customer discovery, I could tell you I had an awesome day or I had an awesome day. It's the same words, but the tones are way different, and you're going to be able to read that body language. So same thing with personal interviews. We're looking for body language, and it allows us to go off-roading with questions. So the problem, if you're talking with customers and you're just sending out like a Facebook survey or SurveyMonkey or something like that, it's just going to be a set number of questions. That's it. The beauty of real person interviews is if somebody says, wait, back up. I don't understand that part. Or wait, so why haven't you done more of this? You can actually dig in and off-road. Okay, the biggest thing when you start talking about tonight, no futuristic questions. So what that means is like, you can't say things like, hey, if there was a such and such, what do you think? Or would you be interested in blah, 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 blah. The reason why Steve Blake talked about, joking that business plans should be in the English department because they're creative writing. Well, the same thing with futuristic questions. When I'm talking to a prospective client and I'm asking futuristic questions, I'm actually drawing on their creative side of the brain because it's not facts. If I say like, what have you done in the past? How much has that cost you? How many occurrences were there? I'm actually drawing on facts. I'm going to draw on a memory. If I'm starting to say, what if? Now you're just putting someone on the spot that they haven't thought about. And a lot of times it just, it's the first thing that comes to their mind. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a fact. That doesn't mean like people are purposely lying to you, but I'm just telling you it's like human nature that it's going to be on more the creative side. I would not base my sake of competition money on somebody's creative side. And then as we've emphasized like 9 times tonight, just reemphasize again, put your idea on the shelf. This is not the time to start pitching now. It's just to understand your clients. Okay, last thing I wanted to wrap up on is how I lost personally $35,000 and wasted 9 months of my life. So I went through venture college as a graduate student, or like after graduating, like almost 8 years ago. And they gave me the same speech of like, go out and talk to customers and do customer interviews and discovery. And so I went out, I knocked doors to like talk to regular customers. And then my business side also required businesses. And the concept, like in its most simplicity, my business was going to send businesses leads all at once. And so that they could respond back quickly to customers. Okay. So when I was calling businesses, like on the consumer side, I actually did a pretty good job of understanding what consumers did to like pick their local plumber. On the business side, I just assumed like they're in business, they want leads. So instead of doing customer discovery, I actually kind of shortcutted that and just said, hey, we're launching this site. Consumers will be able to select like 5 or 6 professionals, and they hit submit, and then we'll send you a lead. All we ask is that you respond back to the customer. And while like some were like, oh, I don't know, it's a little fishy. For the most part, like 90% of businesses were like, yeah, of course, because we weren't even charging. We were very transparent. We're like, we just want to test the model, make sure this works. We're not going to charge for leads. All I ask is that you like send it and they respond. Okay. So we did that for like 2 months. Okay. And I built software based off of, so let me back up. So I interviewed these businesses for 2 months. They expressed like, yeah, sign me up. So we literally had hundreds of businesses in the Treasure Valley. They were like, yeah, send me leads. So I hit the go button to build this software out. It takes 9 months, which shouldn't have taken that long in hindsight, but it did. It cost me like 35 grand. Within 2 weeks of launching, I knew my business idea sucked and quickly needed change or I was going to die. So here's what happened. I had friends that were like, had legit issues, like a $2,000 AC repair. I had plumbing jobs. I had a few others. They used my site, right? They clicked A, B, C, they hit send. I sent the leads out to like 5 or 6 professionals, and almost on every occurrence, only 1, maybe 2, if I was lucky, responded back. And I was pissed because I spent so much time and so much money on this concept that businesses would respond back, assuming that they were in business. And so I call them, and I'm mad because like I can feel like I just wasted 30 grand. And I call the AC guys like, dude, I sent you a lead. What's going on? You like, you're wrecking my business. He's like, oh, we don't do leads in September. We're super busy. No, we just need leads like, like at the end of November. There's a couple weekends where we're super busy, but yeah, don't bug us now. We don't have the time frame to do it. And call after call, it was like that, where they were already super slammed. Okay, here's my problem. I didn't do customer discovery. If I could have redone this, I would have asked before I built a single line of code. I would have asked, so have you paid for leads before? No. Okay, why? Oh, because you're super busy. Are there any times where you have considered in the past? Like, what's your busiest times? If I gave you a lead right now, how quickly could you respond to it? Or when leads come in right now? That's even a futuristic. Rephrase it. When you get leads right now, when someone reaches out, what's your time frame to be able to service those? If I would have asked those questions, I could have quickly understood, like, nope, these guys are not going to respond and my site is not going to work. So luckily I learned how to pivot very quickly. I still lost a lot of money, but got it back at the end. So I encourage all of you to use this time to talk to your problem sponsors. This should be a good relationship moving forward. There's some teams really last year that killed it because they just established a good relationship. It was back and forth throughout the customer discovery mode. So don't feel like this is your only shot, but this is your best shot for getting off on the right foot. And thanks for your time. Good luck.